You've heard that there are big contracts out there for small businesses, for entrepreneurs, and maybe you've tried to go after some of those opportunities. And the two big terms that keep repeating when I talk to clients are frustration and confusion, overwhelm, right? So trying to find the steps, what are the exact steps that you need to take to sell to the government? Right? What do you have to do? If you go to sam.gov, if you go to some of the government websites, it can be very difficult to figure out what that process is. Even if you're registered to sell to the government and you have some understanding, knowing the steps that you should take with each of your opportunities, knowing what your salespeople should be doing, and how do you keep track of all of that? If any of that is ringing true, if there's any confusion in your life about government contracts, then this is the episode for you. And by the way, I'm super pumped about this episode in particular because we rolled out this week our new CRM and pipeline tool that we designed for government contracting specifically. It's called GovClose, and it incorporates everything we're doing at DoD Contract Academy with all of the training with an actual tool that you can use to build a pipeline and take an opportunity through each of the steps, which we lay out for you in this tool, depending on what your strategy is. Every company is different. So this episode, we're going to talk about some of the features of the pipeline, what a CRM is, how you can use GovClose to start winning contracts and really eliminate the confusion and the frustration. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. This is DoD Contract Academy. This is the podcast where we help small businesses and entrepreneurs sell products and services to the U.S. government, the U.S. federal government specifically. My name is Ricky Howard. I'm a former government procurement officer. So I've managed over $82 billion for the Department of Defense in contracts. Those are contracts between the DoD and small businesses, large businesses, entrepreneurs, startups. There's a lot of different things that we did there. And then I went on to start a consulting business and DoD Contract Academy, which specifically helps small businesses sell to the government. We've advised over 400 different small businesses. They've won hundreds of millions of dollars. And everything that we've learned is now in this tool. So let's get started with today's episode. GovClose, guys, I've talked about this a little bit. I've talked a little bit about building a pipeline and how necessary it is to have a tool to help you with that. And look, working with different clients, they've had every big CRM platform that exists, right? I mean, just about. I'm sure there's some I haven't worked on, but we have spent a lot of time editing those. And even the ones that say that they're designed for public sector, what they probably mean is that they're being used for public sector, and certainly they are, but they do not have the strategies involved with winning government contracts incorporated into their pipelining software and their CRM, meaning some of the government is a lot different. So if I'm going after an SBIR opportunity, I probably have 15 steps that are unique to winning a small business innovative research contract versus if you're a reseller or you're an integrator or you're a subcontractor, right? There are specific things that you need to do to sell to the government. And if you open up any of those tools, which many of you probably have, you'll see that, you get a pipeline. Usually the first block is, hey, put your leads here. And then maybe you can move it over to negotiating close or pricing. And then finally, you've won or lost the opportunity. That's pretty generic. Those are pretty generic steps for any sales process, right? And although those things are going to apply to federal sales, there's a lot that's missing. There's a lot that's missing. And we've had a lot of students in the academy where we walk them through the process. We've had a lot of clients that I work one-on-one with over the years. And what do I do next? Confusion. How do I do this? What's the strategy for my type of business? Always the questions. And we spend a lot of time walking them through that. And now, for pennies on the dollar, now we can offer this to the masses. And now really just democratizing what some of the larger businesses, the companies that are already selling to the government know, giving that to you in the pipeline. So if you are watching this on YouTube, you're going to have the benefit of seeing me walk through GovClose. If you are on the podcast listening to this, I'm going to describe what we're looking at here. And this is not going to be a very long episode, but I am going to talk a little bit about GovClose and some of the differences here and what you get. So the first thing I'm looking at, and really the focus of this podcast today, is the pipelines. every pipeline's different in here. Now we're going to bring some newer ones, but this is right now, I'm just going to read to you what pipelines you can choose from. So when you log into GovClose, you'll have a dashboard. You have a variety of things you can choose from, but when you go to opportunities, there are different pipelines you can choose from. And right now we have a subcontracting pipeline, a sources sought pipeline. So we're finding opportunities ahead of the solicitation and walking through what you have to do. We have a software as a service pipeline. If you're selling software, we have an SBIR. So if you're developing a technology and you're looking for small business innovative research contracts, what you have to do is not the same as what you're doing if you're subcontracting. And you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to click on that one right now. So if I go to opportunities here, and then I click down on SBIR, what you're going to see is we have, how many steps are in here? 14, 15, 16 steps here for just SBIR if you're going after that. Topic match, right? What does that mean, right? Well, or after you match a topic, because what'll happen is topics will drop for SBIR. Like, I don't know, one of them was base security. Sometimes they're broad. And you can go in there when they drop and see if you have a software or tool or an idea that will potentially solve that topic. So we have a column here where you can drop your opportunities. And if you're watching this, I just moved one around here. And these are actually real SBIR topics, which, I was looking at here recently. And what happens is you move it into a go, no go column after that. So after you match them, now you have to sit down and decide, is this something that my company wants to go over? So for instance, if I get to the go, no go, I might need to understand, well, what does that even mean? So what's great about that is now I can go over, because this is matched with training. So I can go over to DoD Contract Academy, which comes with the subscription to GovClose. And I can see I've got different blocks, how to use GovClose, the pipeline strategies. Now, if I click on how to use GovClose, it walks me through picking a pipeline, adding opportunities, and then the step-by-step process. And that'll tell you a little bit of, well, what does it mean to go through a go, no-go process? What does call the TPOC mean, right? Well, the TPOC is your technical point of contact. This block doesn't exist in any other pipeline. And it's super critical for small business innovative research. If you want to win, you have a very small window where you can call somebody in the government and talk to them and get extra information on the opportunity. This is just one example of the different steps that you're going to get when you use GovClose in the training you're going to receive on each of them. And these are proven strategies. These aren't things that, I just created. These are used from multiple companies. You've heard a lot of people interviewed on the podcast. I work with a lot of clients that you've never heard of, but are doing really great in the public sector. And there's just some things that I know from being a government procurement officer. I know basically I'm the person you're selling to, right? I know what you need to do and the relationship you need to create to win those contracts. And that's what we're building into the pipelines. Just going through some of the other ones here, we have an integrator pipeline. We have a reseller pipeline, a GSA pipeline, if you have a GSA contract. Existing customer upsell, no better way to sell to the government than to actually expand upon the current customer that you have. So with our pipeline tools, when you win a contract, say with the Air Force, that's not it. It's not just, hey, let's fulfill that. If I'm selling software, it's not just give them the software licenses. It's now that customer that you just won immediately goes to the existing customer upsell pipeline. So we're moving that into existing customer upsell. So now you have a brand new pipeline. So you could have a salesperson potentially, and let's say you have 5 government contracts. Each one of those customers is in this existing customer upsell pipeline, and it's going to show you the steps that they need to be taking on a monthly basis with those existing customers to make sure that we're either expanding on what we're doing, ensuring that we're delivering what we said we would, or potentially getting references to other acquisitions officers, because that's who you're dealing with, and I was an acquisitions officer. That's a profession within the government, and a lot of other acquisitions officers. So, if I'm using your tool and it's really good, I probably know a few other people that could use it as well. And that goes for services, that goes for a lot of things. So, and then just a couple others. We have 8A sole source, 8A graduated targeting. And I'll probably do an entire podcast on 8A graduated targeting, because that is a very unique pipeline. But again, that has different steps in it than any other pipeline ever would. That's what makes this so much different and why I'm excited about it. You really don't need to talk to me. If you're 8A and you have this pipeline, you can just go through the steps and really get ahead of your competitors. And again, we have the training with this too. So if I go over to DoD Contract Academy and I just want to go back here, I can go to GovClose Pipeline Strategies. I see I have the 8A graduated targeting training right there, and I can watch that video and get a sense of what it is. So this is a really quick lesson here, podcast on the launch of GovClose and how it can help you. A little bit about pipelining. I'm going to do a lot more of these and get into each of the pipelines. I'll get into, what are you looking for in a dashboard and some of the parameters that you have to set. But head on over to govclose.com if you want to check out our new CRM tool. It is paired with some of the training from the Academy, so it is a little bit different from just our coaching program at DoD Contract Academy. But head on over to govclose.com. Check it out. Tell me what you think. And hey, leave a recommendation on the podcast, a review. Let other people know about this. The podcast is growing and we're getting other small businesses involved. And this is really great to see. So have a great week. Thanks for tuning in this week, and I will see you next time.